Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of today's seminar is multipath effects mitigation using optimized hybrid diversity equation. It is presented by me. I am Bindya Virmani, student meter. The co-authors are Dr. S.S. Patnaik and Mrs. Swapna Devi. The signal received in the cities are not always line of sight signals. The signals that we received come from different paths, either reflected or scattered through different scatterers, or come through subreflection, superreflections, or ducting. So the signal that we people are receiving at the receiver end may not be the correct or may not contain the total available information that was being sent. So all these fades, here we are related all these fades as multipath fades. Otherwise these fades can be part fading or multipath fading. Part fading moves slowly in time domain, whereas multipath fades moves very fastly. That's why we people are taking here fades as multipath fades rather than taking part fades and multipaths combinedly. For mitigating this multipath fades, we have three options. Either we can use equalization, or we can use diversity schemes, or we can use error correction codes. The thing that we people are employing for mitigation multipath effects is diversity equations. This diversity, by diversity here we mean sending an information with by different means. That means sending a multiple copies of single information, so that the information received at the receiver end should be received in the proper way. Should be received in the proper way, here we mean availability of the information should be maximum. By availability here we mean 5 nines availability. That means the information that should be available at the receiver end should be 99.999% available. Availability has direct connection with fading probability. By fading probability here we mean the amount of fade that occurs during a particular strain of period. What happens here? More is the probability of fade, lesser is the availability. For having availability of 99.999%, we require to have probability of fade 0.001%. For having probability of fade to that much lesser value, we should have a fade margin of 40 dB. By fade margin here we mean there should be a proper margin of there should be a proper distance between the signals that are being sent. So next thing is diversity systems. Diversity systems are used to mitigate multipath fading. It is used for combating co-channel interference, used for avoiding channel burst. The existing model, telecommunication people were using diversity schemes, either space or frequency. Thus when people use space diversity, then the scenario is something like this. They have a transmitter at the receiver and they have two receivers. Both these receivers receive the signals at different positions. There is a switch. At this switch the processing is done. This processing can be, that means the combination of the signals may be done, is done. This combination of signals can be passive or switch or MRC or MRRC. At switch, the signal with highest SNRs are being collected, added up, and the information is being decoded from all these. Telecommunication peoples are using either space or frequency diversity. Here we people are presenting you three hybrid diversity equations. First hybrid diversity equation will work on space and frequency simultaneously. The second will work on space, time and frequency, all three simultaneously. The third one will work on space, frequency, time and all four scattering parameters simultaneously. When the people work on frequency diversity parameters, the people are having two transmitters, a duplexer, a part splitter at this end, two receivers and a switch, and the signal is being decoded and the information is being gained at the receiver end. This is again space diversity. The space diversity equation that was being available is S is the space antenna spacing. Antenna spacing is related to A. A is the terrain factor, B is the climatic condition, D is the path length. That's the distance between a transmitter and receiver. MF is the fade margin that should be 40 dB for having a availability of 5 nines. That is for having a fading probability of 0.001. This PSD is a fading probability when space diversity is being employed. Earlier the people were having fading probability only, but when space diversity was being employed, that fading probability is decreased to PSD. This was the equation that we got from a paper when we simulated. They people showed this and concluded that if the antenna spacing is 30 feet for a particular instance when A is 2, that is for flat air, and B is 0.5, that is climatic conditions are cool and humid, distance between transmitter and receivers are 35 miles and fade margin 40. Then they concluded that at the distance of 30 feet we have the maximum MF, that is the availability of 5 lines are attained at 30 dB. The next is when frequency diversity was being employed. These are some more results. When frequency diversity was being employed, then they said at the frequency diversity of 8 megahertz we get the best results. These are some more results. This is our equation. It is having a flexibility of using del f and s. Del f is the frequency diversity parameter, that is the distance between two frequencies, and s is the antenna spacing parameters. It is having flexibility of using del f and s combinedly. This equation is valid only if it will show the results same as those previous equations were giving. That is, we shall have s being 30 for a particular instance, that is for 2.535, and del f being 8 for 2.5 and 35, with mf being 40. Then this is the second hybrid equation. It is having del t, that is the time diversity parameters, s is the space or antenna spacing parameters, del f is the frequency diversity parameters. This is the third diversity equations, del t, del f, s, and all scattering parameters available for that. These are some of the results for our first hybrid diversity equation. It showed that, looking more precisely at the things, it showed that at 8 megahertz, keeping s at 30 feet, we are getting MF more approaching to 40 rather than at 4 and 2. All these results are for these, and these all show that at 8 megahertz we people were getting the best results. While keeping del f constant and changing the s parameters, we again got that at 30 feet we people were getting the best results. That is, the MF approaches 40 more at 30 feet rather than at 45 or 70 feet. Let's move on to the comparisons. This is the S parameters for a single. This is the S parameter that we got while using space diversity parameter. It is 23.1457 for a particular instance, and this is 24.1457 when we used hybrid diversity first equation. This is del f 6.4330 minus 004. This is when hybrid diversity first equation was used. Again, the same and the exactly same one. These are sorry. So the conclusion and discussions are diversity schemes are developed. Here diversity schemes, the three diversity schemes are being showed. One is for the first one, the results are being, the simulated results are being showed. And so I conclude if one of these fail to combat with fade or fail to keep the receiver end signal above threshold, then others can work easily and help retaining the signals and help retaining the availability of 5 lines at the receiver end. This method has a better flexibility and may bring new dimensions to combat with fading in electromagnetics. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Varmani. Any questions which are there? Okay, then we move to the other paper. That is by Nidhi Sharma, reliability analysis of shuffle exchange network for high-speed parallel computing.
Well, good evening to all of you. The basic topic of this presentation is the reliability analysis of the shuffle exchange network for the high-speed computing. I'll try to summarize this as I can. The very first thing is, the very first thing which came into existence was a serial computation in which we are having the von Neumann architecture. That is, we were having a single CPU and a memory. All the instructions and the operands were stored into basically the memory module. CPU was fetching it and performing the required operations. Then comes the concept of the parallel computing. As the name suggests itself, we were having the multiple processors and the multiple memory modules. So what we were saying is, depending upon the interaction between these processors and the memories, we were having the classification as shared memory parallel computer and the distributed memory parallel computers. So whenever we are saying about the supercomputing, we are saying that the data has been operating at the petaflops and teraflops, means the computing speed is very high. How we are able to attain this very high speed? The basic reason behind it is the interconnection mechanisms. This is the basic introduction. Interconnection networks are two types. The very first one is the static one, second is the dynamic one. In the static, we all know we are having the mesh, ring and star. In the dynamic, we are having the single stage, which are further of two types, the bus and the crossbar. And the second is your multi-stage, in which we are having the MEMS. So in the supercomputing, if we want to attain a very high speed, the basic area which we have to work is the MINS. So what is this? What is basically this MINS is all about? We are saying that MINS stands for the multi-stage interconnection stage. It is basically how we are establishing the interconnections between the processors and the memories. Since we have to speed up the process, the only thing we have to deal is the interconnection mechanisms between them. Obviously, we have to deal with the two types of the interconnections, basically between the two processors, and secondly between the processor and the memory. Now the MINS have two types, electronics and the optical one. In this my presentation, I am dealing with the optical interconnections, that is the optical MINS. The first architecture which we are dealing with is ACN. In this paper, I will be dealing with the three types of architecture, ACN, ACN plus and ACN plus 2. The very first which I am taking into consideration is yours, ACN, Shuffle Exchange Network. For this case, I am taking into consideration 8 cross 8. That means it's having the 8 inputs and 8 outputs. We are having 3 stages over here. That is stage 1 is the input stage, stage 2 is the intermediate stage, and the stage 3 is the output stage. Before taking into consideration how this actually the ACN works, let us consider how the switching elements in the ACN actually works. Obviously, you can see the switch in the ACN network works in basically the 4 possible modes. The very first one is your forward, second is the exchange, third is the upper broadcast, and the fourth one is the low broadcast. You can get it into very easily from the diagram itself. For example, let us consider the case of the upper broadcast. Whatever you are applying at the upper terminal of the input port will be available at both the upper as well as the lower of the output ports. Now, when we are saying with the ACN, it is basically unique path means if we want to establish an interconnection between the switch in the input stage and the output stage, there is only a one path is possible. For example, I have shown in the figure, if we want to establish an interconnection between the 000 in the stage 1 to the 101 in the stage 3, we have to take into consideration the 3 switches, that is the SE01, SE12 and the SE23. Means if in any case one of the switch fails, the entire system is going to collapse. Though you can say the reliability of the system is lower. So what we have done, we have moved to the another architecture. You can say that is give rise to the ACN plus, means the Shuffle Exchange Network with an additional stage. Now what happens with the addition of another stage is that we are having the two path means. What does that mean? If we want to establish interconnections between any input switch and the output switch, we are available with the 2 parallel paths. So even if the one path collapses, so your system is still operative. That's what we are getting in the case of the ACN plus. So another third architecture is your ACN plus 2. It means we are having another one. Now in this case, you are having the input stage, you are having the output stage. One additional stage you have been added up. So what you get is obviously you are getting the 4 path mean has been available, 4 parallel paths are available. Even if the one path fails, the system is still operative. So what you actually make a wild guess is that by adding the reliability, by adding a stage, the reliability improves. So you make a guess that ACN plus 2 has the highest reliability, followed by the ACN plus, and third one is the ACN. But actually this is not the fact. Okay, how you define a reliability? We say when a certain device performs an operations a repetitive number of time with satisfactory operation in a specified interval of time, we say that device is reliable. In our network, we are dealing with the reliability which is given by R is equal to is R exponential of minus lambda t. Means it is a function of lambda. Okay, since I am running out of time, I will just try to concise it. Okay, we are dealing with 3 types of reliabilities, TR, BR and NR. What we are saying is TR is from 1 to 1, means between the one input stage to the other output stage. In the case of broadcast, we are dealing with 1 to all. In the network reliability, we are taking the consideration of all to all. These are the 3 things. Okay, when you are saying the lambdas, means how the switch is being reliable, it is given by the value known as the lambda, which is expressed in terms of the FITs, means failure in times. We are, the value of the lambda is been calculated by using the oscillated results actually. Now when we are evaluating the terminal reliability, since consider the case of ACN plus, okay, 1 to 1 means you have to take into consideration the 3 switching elements, means in this case, if you have to establish a terminal path, all the switching 3 elements must be operate satisfactorily. So you can say that 3 switching elements are in series, so we can say that TR is equal to the R cube itself. Now if you are considering the case of broadcast path, means 1 to all. In the case of ACN, what we are saying is that to establish a broadcast path, since it is a unique path, means each path has to be taken into consideration, we are having broadcast reliability is equal to R7. Similarly, you can calculate the values of the NR. The basic mechanism for evaluating this, basically the formulas TR, BR and NR, you can use either the block diagram reduction mechanisms or you can say Markov chains, cut set method. Various methods are available, you can evaluate these terms. So what we have done is that the formulas which we have evaluated, in which we are putting the value of the switching element, let it be the reliability be 0.99, 0.98 or 0.97, something like this. So we have evaluated value of the terminal reliability, AC, SCN plus and SCN plus 2. The graphs which we are getting is, since what we have imagined is that SCN is a unique path, means it has a low reliability. When we having added another stage, that is SCN plus, so we have obviously the unique path has been transformed to the two parallel path. So, excuse me. So we assume that the reliability has improved. But secondly, when we have again added up the another stage, that is the SCN plus 2, what we have achieved is actually the reliability has not improved. Means obviously we are having the 4 paths parallel, so obviously the system has to operate in better efficiency. But the case is that the result which we are expecting is in contradiction what we are getting. This is because of the reason, if we are adding another stage, the complexity of the system itself increases, so it results further give rise to the failure. Similarly, we get the same result for the PR, NR, something like this. These are the range. Obviously, another inference you can derive from the same. The graphs are, for example, you want to make the reliability to be the 0.85. Obviously, for all the 3 cases, SCN plus is more flexible. The third thing which I have done is that I have increased the network size from the 8 into 8 cross 8 to the 1024. So what you can imagine, for the case of the high network sizes, the system will operate only if the switching element reliability is greater than 0.99. So what we are having it, if we have to support the higher size of the network, especially in the case of the supercomputing, we have to deal with the switching elements which are very reliable. For that we can use for the certain elements like you can say moems and all. These are the basic results I'm getting. Further you can compute the other factors also, availability and MTTF from the same graphs. Conclusion, from TR via NR graphs, this can be concluded that by adding a single stage reliability improves, but if we add the another stage, SCN plus 2 reliability reduces. Thus there is not a direct relation between the additional paths and the reliability increment in the SCN, because the additional paths increases the link's complexity of the network, leading to the higher failure. Third one, for increasing of the network size, it is observed, obviously as I told you earlier, that the reliability of the switch value should be greater than 0.99. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Nidhi. Then we have got Balwinder Singh Dhaliwal. Estimation of SNR of a realistic inter-user channel for mobile communication.
Good afternoon to all present here. I am going to present paper on estimation of SNR for a realistic inter-user channel. Cooperator diversity is a hot topic in the field of mobile communication, and it is a technique used to achieve spatial diversity by single antenna users. The users share each other antennas to form virtual antenna array. As we can see from the figure, that source transmits to a destination as well as to a relay, which retransmits the signal of source and next time instant. So multiple independent transmission paths can be created to provide spatial diversity in a distributed way. But the performance of cooperator diversity scheme heavily depends on inter-user channel condition, which is affected by several kinds of impairments, resulting mainly from reflection, diffraction, shadowing and spreading of signal path as a function of distance. These facts can be modeled directly by ray tracing technique, but it requires a detailed representation of the object in the environment and is computationally complex. So typically channel characteristics are described in terms of few parameters which can be measured. So I am considering these parameters as path loss, shadowing, additive noise, diffraction loss, Doppler effect and polarization mismatch loss. Path loss is spreading of radiated electromagnetic power in space as a function of distance, and it can be measured by this equation, where this first term gives the path loss in free space at a distance t0, and the second term accounts for the different geological locations where n is path loss exponent. Its value of n depends upon local surrounding and the terrain over which the signal travels from transmitter to receiver. And second, shadowing SALT is the attenuation of signal power from large objects. It can be modeled using a log normal distribution about the mean value of path loss. Typical values in outdoor environment range from 8 to 14 dB. And additive noise is goes due to thermal noise in the receiver equipment or background noise in the atmospheric channel or any other random interferences. So considering these three impairments, the reference question which I have taken has considered these three impairments, and average SNR is given by this relation where N naught is active noise, lambda naught is here stands for reference path loss, and zeta is for shadowing. But this question has not considered other types of impairments. So I have tried to modify this question to consider all other three impairments. So diffraction loss, diffraction occurs when the radio path between the transmitter and receiver is obstructed by a surface that has sharp irregularities. The estimation of signal attenuation caused by diffraction of radio waves is essential in predicting the field strength in a given surface area, and it in the limiting case of propagation over a knife edge gives good insight into the order of magnitude of diffraction loss. The diffraction loss due to the presence of a single knife edge is given by this question, whereas V is called Fresnel Kirchhoff diffraction parameter, and its value depends upon height of the obstacle and the distance of the obstacle from transmitter and receiver. Polarization mismatch occurs when there is a difference in polarization sense of transmitting antenna and receiving antenna. For a linearly polarized antennas, the physical misalignment result of polarization mismatch log, which is given by this question 20 log cos theta, where theta is the misalignment angle between the two antennas. Of course, the relative motion between transmitter and receiver result in random frequency modulation due to Doppler shift, and depending upon the direction of motion, this Doppler shift can be positive or negative. The apparent change in frequency is due to Doppler shift is given by this relation, where U is the relative speed and psi is the spatial angle between the direction of motion of the mobile and the direction of travel of the wave. Due to Doppler shift, the effective carrier frequency changes, which further results in modified wavelength. And the path loss, which is a function of wavelength, also changes with the Doppler shift. So taking all these into account, the first question is modified to question where included GD, diffraction loss, cos k theta for polarization mismatch loss, and reference path loss is modified to consider Doppler shift. And in second question I have considered directive antennas. GT and GR is the gain of transmitting and receiving antenna. And I have simulated these equations for various values of distance, and I have got result which are shown here. I have seen that actual value of SNR is very less than the value given by the first equation. The directive antennas provide some gain, but that is insufficient to cover these losses. So conclusion is that the proposed equation of SNR takes into account the losses which occur in a practical channel, so it gives a more realistic model of introduced channel of cooperating mobiles. And the proposed equation may be used to determine the various countermeasures so that the desired quality of service is achieved. These are the references. Thank you.
Okay, any question? Okay, thank you for that. Then next we have got is Ankita Agarwal, SS Patnaik and S Devi, a spatio-temporal neural network applied to medical applications.
Very good afternoon to everybody. I am going to present my paper on spatio-temporal neural network applied to medical application, and I am doing my thesis under Dr. SS Patnaik and Mrs. Swapna Devi. What is a spatio-temporal neural network? As we all know the backpropagation algorithm, in this backpropagation algorithm we have three layers. One is the input layer, hidden layer and output layer. Between input layer and hidden layer we are applying the synaptic weights, and similarly the synaptic weights are applied between the hidden layer and the output layer. But to obtain a spatio-temporal neural network, we are replacing these synaptic weights with the FIR filter. That is, in the spatio-temporal neural network we are having two types of that are defined in either spatially or temporally, means data is defined in space and time both. A spatio-temporal neural network differs from other neural network in two ways, that is propagation delay along links and recurrence play an important role in the computation carried by the network, and the representational state of the network depend not only on which nodes are firing but also on the relative firing node of times of the nodes. A spatio-temporal neural network has the ability to visualize spatial patterns and mentally manipulate them over a time-ordered sequence of spatial transformation. This ability provides solution to multi-step problems that arise in areas such as architecture, engineering and science, mathematics, games and everyday life. The various advantages of a spatio-temporal neural network are as it leads to a recognition system that is shift invariant along the temporal axis. The spatio-temporal approach exploits the image geometry since the local spatial relationship in the image along the temporalized dimension are naturally expressed as local temporal variation in the scanned input. In the spatio-temporal approach, a spatial dimension is replaced by the temporal dimension, and this leads to a model that are architecturally less complex than similar models that use two spatial dimensions. As this figure shows the model for a spatio-temporal neural network in which this x1 and x2 and xm node n defines the spatial inputs, and this FIR filter that is used after replacing the synaptic weights, it gives the temporal data. And this single unit of that FIR filter is explained as is given like this, in which this XIN, that is the spatial input, is given and is delayed up to the P, which is the order of the filter we are using. Now you are generating the by spatio-temporal neural network. I got the various results for the various inputs. These are the results. That is the for different input we will get the different output every time. And the comparison with the backpropagation algorithm, we will get the less number of computation in the case of spatio-temporal neural network. On applying this spatio-temporal neural network for the medical application, we are having various applications like for the detection of ECG, EEG, for the tumor fibrosis. For these cases, we are using a single input, means the input is single, but we after using the spatio-temporal neural network, we will detect number of outputs. Means that is if our input is ECG signal and we will apply to it to a spatio-temporal neural network, then in the output we will get number of diseases that is that input will detect. That is the number of application it shows. These are my references. Thank you.
Okay, any question? Okay, thank you, Anika. Then we have got Rajesh Kumar, FPGA implementation of high speed and area efficient FIR filter using embedded arithmetic.
Respected judges, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Today I am going to present my paper on FPGA implementation of high speed and area efficient FIR filters using embedded arithmetic. As we have very short time, maybe I will go through very fast and I will skip some slides, but I will try to cover most important ones. First of all, overview about this work. I will just discuss my objective. Objective of this paper is to implement FPGA based MAC FIR filter to work with different applications like audio processing, video processing, wireless communication, biomedical imaging, etc. to achieve high speed and area efficiency. Basically, there are three architectures in which we can design this FIR filter. One is fully parallel, where suppose we have 4 multipliers. So we will use 4 multipliers for 4 multiplier operations in our structure. And in fully serial, we will use only one multiplier, and we will use that multiplier to process the rest of the 4 multiplier operations. And in this paper, I am proposing this partly serial architecture, where we can opt for in-between solution. Suppose we are not satisfied with the performance of our serial architecture, it is slow in speed, but we can't go for fully parallel architecture because of the limited number of resources. Then there is one alternative in between fully serial and fully parallel architecture, that is partly serial. That I am going to discuss in this paper. So I will just go through the design flow quickly. For designing this FIR filter, there are different design steps. First of all, we need design specifications. Whatever specification is there, once the desired specifications are there, then we can go ahead with our next part, that is okay, I will skip this one also. So I will straight away go to the results. In results, actually related results of this presentation are FPGA speed. I have actually optimized two designs. One I have made one design with 6 multipliers, and then I made one design with 12 multipliers. I made one design with serial architecture. With this I got this much speed, and the first optimized design with 6 multipliers I got 18.249 nanosecond speed, and the second optimization with 12 multipliers I got 16.725 nanosecond speed. If we compare this improvement with our serial design, then we can say see that first optimization I got improvement of approximately 18%, and with our second optimized design I got improvement of 24.9%. And if we consider our area utilization report, in our area utilization, you can see that if we count number of slices, percentage uses of number of slices in our 12 multiplier design, it is only around 50%, and we are left with 15% more resources in our design. Then number of flip-flops used in our design, and our 12 multiplier design, it is using only 22%. We have 78% resources left with us. So likewise we have reduced so much area, so that we can use that area for implementation of other additional logics of our system design. If I compare this design with our other architectures like add and shift architecture and PDA architecture, then we can see that this green one, it is showing the proposed design, where we can see we are using considerably less number of resources as compared to these two designs. First one is add and shift, and second one is PDA. And if we go for this 3D view, here we can see that in our 12 multiplier design, or you can say optimized design, because of the use of this 12 multipliers, this one, we have saved a lot of area in case of our slices and lookup tables and flip-flops. So now I will conclude with this proposed design, optimized design with 6 multipliers. It shows an improvement of 18% over FPGA serial architecture. The optimized design with 12 multipliers shows an improvement of 24.9% over FPGA serial design. Due to the use of proposed embedded arithmetic, here embedded multipliers, a considerable large area is saved, which can be used for implementation of additional system logic. So thank you very much. If you have any query, you can ask.